The 7 Deadly Sins as Boxers. Envy fits British boxing legend Lennox Lewis. Considered to be the greatest fighter from England, Lewis had a tremendous career. Born on September 2nd, 1965, Lewis started boxing in 1978 and was an elite amateur, amassing a record of 85-12, winning multiple awards in the process, including an Olympic gold medal. He made his pro debut on June 27th, 1989, and took on his first formidable opponent 5 years later, facing Donovan Ruddock. 1 year before this bout, Ruddock gave Mike Tyson a very difficult fight, losing a 12-round decision. Lewis demolished him in 2 rounds. Lewis got his first title shot 6 months later, taking on 48-1 Tony Tucker. Lewis defeated him by unanimous decision to become the WBC heavyweight champion. Lewis kept the momentum going before losing a major upset to Oliver McCall. Lewis kept his head up and avenged his loss 2 years later. He took on living legend Evander Holyfield for the undisputed heavyweight crown. In what's considered one of the worst decisions in championship history, Lewis was robbed of history, receiving a draw on the judges' scorecards. Lewis got a second chance 8 months later, winning a unanimous decision to become the undisputed heavyweight champion. Lewis retired as a living legend and an icon for British boxing. He should enjoy the sport and what he's accomplished. 12 years later, after Lewis had retired, a new face of British boxing had emerged. Fellow Olympic gold medalist Anthony Joshua. Lewis automatically became a huge critic of the young heavyweight. According to the newspaper The Sun, Joshua flew out Lewis to Jamaica to help prepare for his professional career. Lewis claims things didn't work out. He told Joshua stories and how he'd like to help him without having to promote him in the process. Lewis claims Joshua called and said he really wanted Lewis to help him, and Lewis agreed. Lewis claims after that, Joshua went silent and chose to be helped by others. Apparently, after Joshua's victory against Klitschko, security kept Lewis away from the spotlight. Lewis later insinuated that the reason Joshua and Wilder hadn't happened was due to Joshua caring more about money than legacy, claiming that if Joshua wanted to be a champion, he had to act like one. This is while Joshua had already unified titles at a young age. Lewis clearly was upset that he wasn't working with Joshua, claiming after Joshua's defeat to Ruiz that you can't go to university if you're a third-grade teacher. Joshua later claimed that Lewis never actually reached out, but only made attempts through social media. Greed is common amongst boxers, but was most noticeable towards Deontay Wilder. Getting into boxing late as an attempt to help his family, Wilder had good intentions early. He had a great amateur run, especially for someone who got into the sport late, and made his pro debut on November 15, 2008. Wilder is one of the biggest punchers the sport had ever seen, and amassed a tremendous record of 32-0 with 32 KOs before getting his first title shot on January 17, 2015, against Haitian champion Bermane Stiverne. Wilder finally went 12 rounds, but won in dominant fashion against a reigning champion many felt would beat him. Wilder made multiple defenses of his WBC title, however, these defenses came against easy opponents. Wilder kept making money, but was having a very easy title run. There was one man the world wanted to see Wilder face. That was unified champion Anthony Joshua. The winner would become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Eddie Hearn and Team Joshua reached out, and Wilder was offered a tremendous $100 million for 2 fights with Joshua. Many dispute Wilder turning down this fight, but Wilder ended up confirming it himself on his Twitter account. Wilder turned Joshua down, igniting a rivalry with Tyson Fury. Wilder's title reign eventually ended, getting dominated by Tyson Fury. While Wilder made good money for these fights and will continue making a lot of money in his future bouts in Saudi Arabia, Wilder turned down $100 million for a 2-fight deal against Joshua, claiming that he wanted a 50-50 split. Due to this act of greed and even pride, Wilder screwed himself over, never making even half of what he would have made per Joshua fight. The most Wilder ended up making was $25 million for a Fury rematch, half of what he would have made against Joshua. Wilder also let the fans down, and his fight against Joshua is still considered one of the biggest what-ifs in modern boxing. In a tragic story, RAF is assigned to Venezuelan power puncher Edwin Valero. Born on December 3, 1981, Valero didn't have an easy upbringing. His father left his family when he was 7 years old, and he had to sell fruit at fruit stands to make ends meet. Valero got into boxing after getting a job at a local gym at age 12. Valero compiled an 86-6 amateur record. He didn't do a good job staying away from trouble, allegedly getting involved in local street gangs, robbing people, and then driving away on motorbikes, as well as getting into street fights and getting addicted to hard drugs. Boxing did a good job of eliminating that lifestyle from Valero. On February 5th, 2001, Valero got into a bad motorcycle accident that gave Valero a cerebral hemorrhage and a fractured skull. This, combined with future brain damage from fighting and previous drug use, while also having a rough upbringing, was a perfect storm for future events regarding Valero. On July 9th, 2002, Valero made his pro debut and showed immense talent. Valero would get signed by Golden Boy, and they tried putting him on a card in New York in January of 2004, but couldn't get licensed due to a blood clot found in his brain from a previous motorcycle accident mentioned. Valero went on to have an 18-fight first-round KO streak. He became a champion on April 4th, 2009, stopping Antonio Pitalua. Just 1 month later, Valero received a DUI, costing him a big opportunity of fighting on the undercard of Manny Pacquiao versus Miguel Cotto. Valero would later take on his biggest test to date, fighting Mexican Antonio DeMarco. Valero put on a brutal clinic, forcing DeMarco into submission after the 9th round. At this point, Valero is 27-0 with 27 knockouts and has a bright future in the sport. This would all change. In March of 2010, Valero's wife was hospitalized with cracked ribs and a punctured lung. While it's only alleged that Valero assaulted her, with his lawyer claiming that she fell down a flight of stairs, Valero didn't help his case when he showed up to the hospital. He embarrassed himself and got arrested for harassing his wife, threatening hospital personnel, and resisting arrest. They found that Valero was on hard drugs and was drunk. 1 month later, Valero's wife was found dead. She had been stabbed 3 times. Valero told security in the hotel that he had stabbed his wife. The next day, after being sent to prison, they found Valero dead in his cell, hung from his own sweatpants. To become special in the sport, you need activity. Someone who's infamous for inactivity is the choice of sloth, Gary Russell Jr. Born on June 5, 1988 in Washington, D.C., Russell came from a fighting family and got into boxing at the age of 7, reaching an amateur record of 163-10. The slick southpaw made his debut on January 16, 2009, and was a touted prospect known for his tremendous hand speed. Russell built a record of 24-0 before facing future multi-weight and unified champion Vasyl Lomachenko. Russell would lose a decision to Lomachenko, but didn't let the loss hold him back. Russell took a tune-up fight before taking on WBC featherweight champion Johnny Gonzalez. At this point, Gonzalez had a lot of momentum, stopping undefeated Abner Mares in 1 round and recently defeating Mexican legend Jorge Arce by stoppage. Russell made quick work of the champion, stopping him in the 4th round. After this victory, Russell had 1 fight per year for the rest of his career. Russell was having promotional disputes, but clearly didn't take much initiative in getting the issue sorted, unlike his rival Terence Crawford. Russell wasn't even fighting the best guys around him, simply taking on mandatories and then sitting on the shelf. Russell had 4 fights in 5.5 years before taking on Filipino Mark Magsayo. On the outer surface, Russell is a much better fighter than Magsayo and should get the job done. However, when you're taking on a hungry lion, it's not the best idea to be demotivated and to barely be in the ring. This inactivity likely played a part in Russell injuring his right shoulder and losing a majority decision. Since this road bump, Russell has given up on the sport and hasn't fought since this defeat. Russell was a very talented fighter with God-given ability who had potential to accomplish huge things. Russell, while fighting once a year, was still considered the best guy in his weight class and was favored to defeat the vast majority of hypothetical opponents. Russell's career is a definition of underachievement, especially for what he was capable of doing. When you get pride, you get Ryan Garcia. Born on August 8, 1998, he was one of the best amateurs in recent years, going 215-15. He made his pro debut on June 9, 2016, and was extremely dominant, winning ESPN's Prospect of the Year in 2017. Garcia immediately started making claims. He started to call out names such as Gervonta Davis and later Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. Garcia made a statement on February 2020, knocking out former Gervonta Davis opponent Francisco Fonseca in the 1st round. Garcia made sure to milk this performance due to the fact that he outperformed Davis. Garcia's first test came against British contender Luke Campbell. Garcia would get dropped hard early before overcoming the adversity and stopping Campbell in the 7th round. Garcia learned from this bout, even changing trainers and fighting in a much more calculated manner in his next few fights, before Garcia finally got what he wanted, a fight against Davis. This fight was set for April 22nd. In the build-up, Garcia was understandably very confident. However, his prior brashness towards the Davis fight cannot be ignored, and all of the previous trash talk aged terribly as he was forced into submission in the 7th round. Garcia took a backseat, focusing on improving. He took a tune-up against Oscar Duarte, winning by knockout. Just under 1 year from his defeat to Davis, a fight against Devin Haney was set. While more of the trash talk came from Haney, it's Garcia's antics and post-fight behavior that has put him on the list. While Garcia got into dangerous territory discussing the elites and human trafficking, him arriving on horseback to the presser while also making a diss track about Haney, bragging about a false claim of sleeping with the wife of George Kambosos, while also bragging about material possessions and clearly showing an overvalue of self-importance, was very noticeable of Garcia. Gluttony goes to Jarrell Miller for very obvious reasons. Born on July 15, 1988, Miller stands tall at 6'4", meaning he's always been a big guy. Miller got into martial arts and has a nice background of Muay Thai and kickboxing. However, traditional boxing is what Miller pursued. Miller made his pro debut on July 18, 2009, weighing in at 252 pounds for his debut. That's a BMI of 30.7, well over the healthy average. As a heavyweight, this wasn't particularly out of the ordinary, and Miller was a good fighter, having a high-paced style, especially for someone his size, and breaking down opponents from his output. Miller's first 12-round bout came against Polish Mariusz Wach. Miller dominated and was the first man to stop Wach, even though it was due to an injury. Miller had gained significant weight at this point, coming in at 283 pounds. Miller won 3 more bouts before getting a massive opportunity to face boxing superstar Anthony Joshua. Some gave Miller a shot due to his massive size advantage. Many even believe that Miller dominated Joshua in the pre-fight trash talk, as their gloves are off was never aired. Miller self-sabotaged, failing drug tests for their bout and getting suspended. Top Rank signed Miller and had him scheduled to take on Jerry Forrest before failing another drug test. Miller finally returned in June of 2022 and had officially become morbidly obese, even for a heavyweight boxer, weighing 341 pounds, nearly 100 pounds heavier than his debut. His BMI nearly doubled the healthy average, being 41.5. Thankfully for Miller, he was still winning fights. Miller had a shocking weight loss journey for his big opportunity in Saudi Arabia against Daniel Dubois, losing a whopping 8 pounds and coming in at a slim 333 pounds. Miller was too heavy and gassed out, losing the fashion he'd usually win fights, getting stopped late in the 10th round. Miller will be taking on Andy Ruiz in boxing's version of sumo wrestling. Lust goes to glass-jawed former champion Amir Khan. A fighter of special talent, getting a silver medal in the 2004 Olympics, Khan made his debut on July 16, 2005. Khan was a tremendous fighter, with one of the best offensive abilities in his weight range. As a fighter, aside from having a glass chin, he was nearly perfect. Khan got viciously KO'd by Britis Prescott before bouncing back and going on an impressive win streak. Khan officially became a world champion less than a year after his defeat against Prescott, defeating Andrei Kotelnik on points. Khan had some ups and downs in his career before retiring with a 34-6 with 21 KOs record. Khan accomplished being a former unified champion. In January of 2017, a sex tape was leaked of the former champion. According to sources, in the tape, Khan wasn't with his wife, but with a different woman. It gets worse. Khan was doing acts over Skype, not in person. Model Emma Bond claimed that Amir Khan sent 77 texts trying to hook up with her after he had claimed to be a changed man from adultery, while also claiming his wife in these text messages was a gold digger. Some of the texts aren't even worth reading out loud, but it's clear from reading them that the married Khan was very desperate. This all came after Khan had already been caught with a separate model named Sandy Hunter. This happened only hours after he was on public television discussing family values and how he's a family man. Also known for notoriously clubbing and attempting to get with women, the biggest issue here isn't just simply that Khan has been trying very hard to get multiple women, but that he's doing it while married and also doing it over the internet and online where he can be recorded. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in, especially if you made it this far. If you made it to the end, comment some other fighters that fit these criteria in your opinion. Once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time. God bless.